In this episode, I'm going to show you how to use the DOMINO D8 knockdown connectors to assemble our carcass. Let's get started. So I want to show you another way you can put these cabinets together. We recently came out with the D8 connectors for the DOMINO 500. Essentially, they're just knockdown connectors. So there's several other connectors and tips and tricks for this set. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can find out more about it. The ones we're going to be using have a couple parts to them. So we'll make a mortise with an 8mm cutter, and this wedge fitting will actually go into that cabinet like that. And then we're going to use this jig after we make another 8mm mortise, just like we did on the last cabinets. We'll put that into the mortise we make in this panel, and then we'll drill a hole with this jig to accept this side of the connector. And this is just a pin style connector. We have a post that fits inside this connector, and then this little set screw is tapered on the bottom. So that taper fits into the groove of the post. And when I tighten that down, it draws the post in, sucking the two pieces of material together nice and tight. We can use it in conjunction with the solid wood tenons. So once we do get to the job site, we can throw a little glue on them, actually utilize these as somewhat of a clamp. So it'll pulls it all together, holds it together while that glue sets up. So let's get started. Before I start making mortises, I want to talk to you about how I changed the cutter on the DOMINO itself. It's no longer a 5mm cutter, I put an 8mm cutter in here. And I'm also going to change the depth of the mortise on the bottom panel. I'm going to be plunging in 28mm on the bottom panel. Now when I switch to do my side panel, because I'm going to be doing it in the vertical position, I can't do 28mm. If I do 28mm, it's going to go through the side. So I'll switch that to 15mm. I'm going to start out with my 28mm, and we'll make some mortises. So once I have the mortises done, the next thing I need to do is drill a hole for this connector. It's very easy. We have a jig that comes with the DOMINO connector set, and this right here is exactly the same size as an 8mm tenon. So once I have my mortise drilled, all I have to do is make sure that fits in there, and then this locks that plate down. If I want to make sure it's very secure, I can also apply a clamp. Clamp that down, attach dust extraction to it, and put the supplied bit into my Festool drill. And there is a collar on here, so I can only drill it so deep. It won't let me drill any deeper. So let's go ahead and drill out the hole. So for the center mortise, I'm not going to use one of the connectors. I'll just use a solid wood tenon because that'll allow me to glue it up in the field if I'd like to. So once I've drilled those holes, I can then install the connectors that'll accept the posts that we talked about earlier. Pretty straightforward. The one thing you want to notice is there's a line on each side of that set screw. That line needs to be parallel to your panel. So you just simply drop it in on both sides. Now we also have these black locating connectors. What those do is I'll slide them in from the end of the mortise, and they'll lock it in from keeping those connectors from falling out. So the next thing I want to do is install the expansion fittings. They simply just go into the mortises. This just threads in the expansion fitting. Tighten down as much as you can, and then we'll use a drill to tighten it the rest of the way. So I'll remove the bit and install a bit holder, and then just tighten it down all the way. So once it's tight, I'll have to loosen it up so I make sure that dished out part is facing towards the bottom of the cabinet. Then I'll just repeat the process on this side. So now we can do a test fit, see how it goes. Line up the pins and the wood tenon. Makes for a nice tight joint. I won't tighten it until we get the mortises and the hardware put on the other side, and we'll lock it all together. So from this point, we can cut the back panel. We already got our spanners cut, our hanging rails, we can install those, and we can also install our face frame. At that point, the cabinet's pretty much done, other than a toe kick. If you noticed, I did not install or cut out a toe kick on this cabinet. What I like to do is I will build a ladder on the ground, I can level that up, and then I can set my cabinets on top of that, knowing everything is perfectly level from there. If you'd like to continue watching this cabinet build, click here, or watch this video. And don't forget to subscribe.